first round of the playoffs, and this is the winner for the game of the week. We get fewer nominations in the playoffs because there's fewer games, and this is certainly a most interesting game. Okay, let's take a look, see what we got. Okay. How many times have we seen this position? Millions, right? Yeah, it's because it's been played millions of times. And I'm happy to see this line being played. What do you think happens? Well, it's the Evans Gambit. Now, I've known about this line since I was a teenager, before I even played rated play, because I was reading chess books in grammar school and middle school, and I was discovering a lot about openings. Basically, white is trying to sacrifice a pawn, obviously, and in return he will get some development. Now, I learned way back then there's two lines: to take the bull by the horns and accept the pawn with bishop takes, or there's another line, it's the declined variation, bishop b6. And most of the theory on this opening was written way back when, 1800s, I think so. It's been revived periodically, and I understand it's recently had a revival. Famous grandmaster started playing it and discovering some new ideas in it. And I don't know what those ideas are, and I don't remember who the grandmaster is. But if you're going to play this line from either white or allow it as black, guess what? You need to know it. You're going to run into trouble real quick. I have, in my tournament history of over 40 years of rated play, I've seen this opening twice. One's on the white side and one's on the black side. I saw it on the black side back in 1975, and I got slaughtered. I didn't know it as well as I thought. And I tried it as white once, and I just butchered it and lost too. So you gotta know it if you're going to play it. Okay, so black takes the bull by the horns, and he accepts the pawn. Now, I'm actually writing a book. It's not close to being ready, but I've got involving not necessarily the Evans Gambit, but ways to avoid a lot of opening preparation and still play, have a quite reasonable game. Talk to me about it if you want to know more. You know how to find me? I'm easy to find. Okay. But anyway, this is basically the main idea. I don't know where book ends. That's your job. What am I going to do? To analyze every possible book line? Forget it. You shouldn't either. Just get to know the principles. Okay. Black brings back the bishop d7. I think maybe bishop a5 is a variation to retreat there. But what's going to happen is white's just going to keep developing his pieces here, and even offers black another pawn. And you'll see that in a moment. It comes up. There's the other pawn. Take the one on c3, and black does. So what's white done? Let's look at the position. White's now down 2 pawns, but those don't count. We're not in the ending yet. If you take off the all the heavy artillery off the board, the queens, the rooks, the bishops, and the knight each, black wins. Well, but there's a problem. How does black get those guys off without any development? So, meanwhile, white's got a lot of play. He's got one bishop actively posted. It's poised at the weak f7 square, right? Okay. His other bishop has a couple open diagonals, plenty of room to maneuver. White's king is castled, so the rooks are almost connected because the queen's off the back rank. His knight's developed here on. I'm wiggling it here. See, it's developed. White's got a lot of development for 2 pawns. Black, on the other hand, hasn't castled yet. Most of his queen side is undeveloped. The bishop on c8 cannot move. Black's got a lot of catching up to do. So let's kind of count the tempos. That's one way to try to evaluate this position. They say a pawn is worth 3 tempos. Okay, let's suppose black. We give black the next several moves without white doing anything. Well, of course, that's illegal, but I'm making a point. It's a good way to count. If black castles, that's 1 move. Now he's got to develop his queen bishop. Well, to do that, he's got to move his, well, he's got to develop his queen. That'll match. How do we develop the queen? Maybe we got to, I don't know where we develop the queen to. Okay, let's go back and develop the bishop. Okay, b6 is 2. Now we're going to put the bishop. b7, okay, that's 3 moves. And the queen still isn't developed. Okay, we're going to now put the queen on c8, that's 4 moves. And then we're going to put the bishop on a6, that's 5 moves. And then finally, you know, unless white exchanges, we get the queen to b7. So that's 6 moves. So logically speaking, white has compensation. Black is 6 tempos behind in development. Okay? And who would you rather play here? Well, I don't know. I wouldn't want to play either side against a strong player. Okay? I wouldn't. I stay away from this stuff. But hey, it makes for fun, entertaining chess, so go for it if that's the kind of style you like. Okay, so let's move on a little bit. Black castles. He does the first thing. Of course, in that line, all those arrows I was drawing, white gets 6 moves too. He's liable to go checkmate black in the meantime. Let's see how close. Let's see what happens, and we'll kind of count the tempos here in a little bit. Both sides are playing quickly. Look at the times. Nursey has gained time. Innes has lost a little bit of time, but hey, that's all right. Now, I don't think a3 helps, but it has a point. You know, logical moves under consideration are moves. Let's get the rooks connected. Bishop f4 is a logical move. Rook e1 is a logical move, but there's a point to a3. Well, actually, rook a1 is not a logical move, I guess, unless white's prepared to sacrifice more material because bishop b4 can come in. But a3 has a point, and you'll see it here in a moment. Not just yet. Okay, white develops that rook, and black's doing some of the moves I suggested. There it is. There's one of them. And that's the point of 12a3, it appears. And swing the rook over that way. White's maybe not sure where he wants to put that bishop on c1. And it'll come into play. It's a very critical piece here in a little bit. Okay, so queen c8. Hey, look. He's following my idea. Well, what else was there? There really wasn't. Black's all bottled up for his 2 pawns. And, you know, now white's getting some moves. That knight's now menacing f7. It's menacing h7. Let's count tempos now. Okay. If it's black's move, white's brought this knight up, so that counts as a tempo. Black's got to get a couple tempos here back in a hurry. I mean, not saying these are good moves. Bishop a6, queen b7, and then since the white rook on a1 is now developed, well, then we'll develop the rook. So black is maybe only 3 tempos behind in development now. He's done some catching up, maybe 4 tempos. So he's gotten a little closer. But it's still got to be a game that can go either way. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, so queen e8. Well, we'll consider the queen developed there. Okay, but honestly, what can black really do here? He's just all tied up. Now he's planning the bishop a6 idea, and white stops that cold and threatens mate in 1. Okay, so obviously black's going to see the mate threat, I would hope, right? And then he can't follow up with bishop a6. So black liquidates that knight. And it's really, really, really hard to suggest a move for black here. The move he plays just shows the power of the white game. For all these tempos he's got. But black has almost caught up in development. But I think this move just opens up the game and gets him in trouble, because when you're behind in development, if you open up lines, the side that's going to capitalize on that is the better developed side, because his pieces will be ready to seize those new open lines. And what black does, I wouldn't say it's greedy. He grabs this pawn. but really, without doing that, what else is there? How does he get anything else developed? The only thing I can think of is a move like A4 with the idea of sticking the rook on A5. That's a possibility. But really, what else can he do? He just can't. White's got all this open room. But this opens up the center a little bit. And White finds a good move, Queen G3, which attacks it. And F4 is not wise at this point. It looks like it, but Black has this reply, Queen A4. And even though White has Bishop B3, Black will come out of this okay. Anyway, okay, let me back up just a second. Okay, you saw the move that White played. Now, let's look at the clock. Okay, let's watch the clock. Okay, it went down 3 seconds, meaning that White spent 45 seconds in his increment. His increment plus 3 seconds. White missed a forced win here. Okay, so sometimes when you have an overwhelming development advantage, you want to stop and take your time and try and work things. I can see why Bishop H6 is played. It's a common move that in thematic we want to play that because we see that once they guard the mate with G6, we go pick up the exchange. We take that rook. Quality is, as any Europeans who are watching this know, that minor piece for rook exchange is called the quality. But let's look at Bishop F6. Okay, it threatens mate 1 the same way. What does Black do? He's got to guard the mate. Well, knight G6 will stop it, but it allows White to grab the queen. Okay, so let's just look at that and see if Black can get away with that. Okay, now White will just save his bishop, and White has a queen for a rook advantage. Yeah, Black has a lot of pawns, but material's on White's side, and the attack isn't over. Look at those killer bishops he has. Oh my goodness, the threat is now to play Queen C3, and how does Black stop that mate? His F-pawn is pinned. So, White to play. If it's White's move here, he wins immediately. No, wait, no, it doesn't. Knight E5 or anything, rook E5. But White's having all the fun here. This no one wants to defend this as Black. Okay, so we can kind of read. Whoop, let's go back. How do you? What else do you try here? Okay. There's only one other move. Whoop, I went back too far back. I'm back there now. Okay, Bishop F6. There's only one other move, G6. Now White plays Queen F4. This is the key move. Now the threat is to play Queen H6 and administer a checkmate. How does Black defend that? Well, he can play Knight G4 to keep the queen out of H6, but that's just going to drop the queen, and then the knight's loose. So Black's even giving up more material, so he can throw Knight G4 out. Whoop, let's get that queen back here. What else is there? Well, I can only find one other move, and that's to bring the queen here. Okay, attack the rook, threaten a mate of his own. In other words, well, it's not a mate of his own. Let's see, Queen H6, Queen takes. Yeah, it's what's happening here? My goodness, who's mating who? Man, maybe this works. Maybe you can give up the ghost. Give it all up. Wow, pretty. Unless I'm missing something. I don't always. I insist on analyzing things raw because that's how you improve at chess. Don't tell me that any grandmaster doesn't analyze a blunder. They do. You gotta analyze and figure it out. This is how you analyze a game. When you sit there and show somebody all the best moves, you're not teaching them a thing. I said it in another video. I'll say it here. When I was in the 8th grade, my future sister-in-law was in my math class. I'd known her since we were kids. My older sister, married her older brother. She wasn't too sharp in math, and I was. And of course, our siblings weren't even dating yet. They were like in 10th grade. But anyway, we were friends because, like I said, I'd known her, and she knew I knew all the answers. So she always used to ask me when we had a test, "What's the answer to number 8?" And I would whisper back, 4, or whatever it was. And she passed the class, but really I didn't help her. Okay? Why? Because she didn't know how to think for herself. Okay? That's one of the reasons you don't want to use a computer to analyze your games and show you the best move. Too many chess authors and coaches now are using a computer to analyze these things out. Last resorts only, guys. If a computer will show you the best move, but it won't tell you why it's the best move. Your analytical skills will develop if you figure out the best move here. So, I maybe this wins, maybe it doesn't. And, I think a lot of these people say, well, I've got to show perfection because my reputation will take a hit if something's wrong with my move. Well, garbage. So what? If I suggest a bad move and you find an improvement, good for you. Here, I'll tell this story again. I love telling this story. Back in the 60s, Hans Berliner was a solid 2400 player, got into correspondence chess, and he got into the World Championship final, and he was playing the Russian representative, the Soviet representative, Yakov Estrin, and Estrin at the time was considered the world's leading authority on the two knights defense. Well, Berliner had his book and found a flaw in the analysis, and he played that line against Estrin, and Estrin played right into it. And Berliner then showed him the flaw in the plan and defeated him, and then won the tournament by an overwhelming margin. Now, does Estrin have egg on his face for that? No. So what? Berliner came up with the refutation. So what? This is kind of pretty here. What defense does Black have here? If anything, White could just, there's plenty of stuff here, and I think a lot of this, I could spend an hour analyzing every possibility out here. What do you learn if I sit there and show the answer? I'm showing some of the things, but this is kind of how you analyze a game. You look at possibilities. If anything, if this fails, if sacrificing the rook with check fails, White has this great move at his disposal. Whoops. And after Black takes and White takes, now White has a queen for 2 minor pieces. Black has a bunch of pawns, but I like White's chances here. But anyway, can White sacrifice the rook on d1? Maybe. Look at this. This is pretty. Sacrifice 2 rooks. Wow. Look at that. 2 rooks. What does Black do? He gets one more spy check. Maybe I'm missing something blind. Am I any weaker of a player or less talented as far as understanding chess principles go if I miss something? I don't know. This is a brilliant win. Sacrifice 2 rooks for mate. But so what if there's a flaw in it? You guys tell me. Do some work. I wasn't the one playing this game. I didn't have to solve this. You don't want me showing you the answer. You won't learn. How are you going to learn if I show you the answer? Ask my sister-in-law how much she learned about math. Well, you can't. She passed away a few years ago, unfortunately. But anyway, you get my point. I like to talk in analogies, and that's a perfect one. So anyway, White wins with this line immediately. Anyway, he went this way and grabbed the quality, grabbed the exchange, and then now we still have a fight on our hands. Okay, so hey, look, let's pin it, and there's that move anyway, Queen A4. Okay, so now the bishop's loose, the rook's loose, and Black finds a nice resource here. Knight checks, undermining the defense of the bishop on B3. There it goes. And very, very intense duel. So what? Black's grabbing pawns. What else can he do? You know, he might as well grab the pawns, and doing this is, it's fine. You know, if it's still a fight, and he does a pin, which is a good move. If white misfires with his attack, black's got a winning ending. Okay, so rook here. Now the rook's pinned. Otherwise, white has a great game with rook takes rook. But anyway, gives a check. Gets the pawn rolling. I think that was a mistake. I think black needed to take on e3 first and then keep the pin alive, because white's up to some tricks here. And that, you know, somewhere here black made a mistake, because you'll see here in a moment. And it's another critical juncture of the game. And let's look at the clock. And when I looked at this the first time, I saw it immediately. I go, oh my God, what do you see here? Okay, white to play and do the best he can. Pause the video. Okay, did you resume the video? I mean, now you resume the video. Did you find the brilliant win that white had? Okay, I hope you did. It's very pretty. Queen G7 check. Leaves black one move. Forced. Check. One move. Forced. Check. Forced. And goodbye. Checkmate. Sacrificing the queen for a forced mate. And black only had one reply every time. And white missed this. Okay? White missed this. Why did white miss this? Well, you have to ask white. It's unfortunate he did. Let's look at the culprit. Okay, what he did was he played here. Now let's back that up. Let's look at the clock. 23:48, and it went down to 22:24. So he spent a minute and 24 seconds plus the increment. White only spent 2 minutes on his move. Only 2 minutes. Now, let me give you a little coaching as far as your time management. Now, 45-45 is a pretty quick time control. It's not normal tournament time control that you'll play if you play at a club or you play at a weekend event. You know, you're going to get a much more generous time control, but it fits the internet fine. But when you have essentially a 2-to-1 time advantage, you got to take your time on the move here. And you know, basically white spent 2 minutes and didn't see it. So what's his idea? Which we try to say, why did he play queen h4? What's the idea here? Well, to me, it seems the idea is he's guarding his pawn, because I can't see another move that guards the pawn other than queen g7 or queen g5. Those moves guard the pawn. So does rook e6. We don't want to play queen g5 or rook e6, but queen g7 guards the pawn. But a lot of times we have this self-imposed horizon effect. We refuse to look at moves like queen g7 check because our chess instinct says, I can't put my queen where he can take it, and we shield this this wall. We don't look any further. And just for example, take my word for it. I mean, I heard recently that Jeremy Silman says if you can get rid of refusing to analyze moves you don't think you can play, you can gain at least 100 rating points, because it affects your analysis right on down the line in all kinds of situations. No, I can't play there because, well, the rule of thumb. There's several ways to handle this. One is to examine every legal move. I have a friend who doesn't play anymore. There's a FIDE master, and he's probably international, or was probably international master strength, had talent, defeated Grandmaster Walter Brown several times. But anyway, he said, sometimes what I'll do is I'll just sit and examine every legal move. I'll count how many legal moves I have, and I'll take a look at each one, as horrible as it is. And so if he had this position, he'd look at queen g7 check. Now, he wouldn't stop his analysis there. He'd say, okay, what does black do? He would look. Well, black has to take the queen. Now what do I do? Well, oh, look, there's a check on the back rank. Okay. Now he has to bring the rook back. Now what can I do? Oh, I can take that rook with check. And he takes back, and then I checkmate him. So my friend, his way of overcoming this was to look at every legal move. And if you have time on the clock, it's not that hard. Okay? Okay, how many legal moves does white have in this position? Okay, let's see. King has 1, 2, 3. We don't want to move the king, but we might examine him. So 3 legal moves there. 4, 5, 6 if you count the pawn. So 6 legal moves on the board where the queen has 7, make 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, the rooks 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. White has 31 legal moves here. How long does it take to look at 31 legal moves? To probably do that in 2 minutes. Okay? And then just picture the position and see what you see. Go from there. That's the long approach, but it may also find you a pleasant surprise, because the other rule is analyze every possible check. Okay, that's another thing. What checks does white have? Well, he has queen takes h7 check. That doesn't do him any good, because it would if he could get a mate on the h file, but he can't. So the other check is queen g7, so that satisfies it. That's a shortcut way. The next way is to look at captures. What captures can I make? Well, we already exhausted queen takes h7. That leaves queen takes g6. White has no other captures. What other threats can we make? Well, we can threaten the queen with rook e5. Well, he just takes the... he could take the rook. He could take the pawn. What else can we threaten? We can go threaten the c pawn with rook c3. We could put the rook on e7 and threaten the c pawn and the f pawn, but that just allows queen takes f6. Or we could stick the rook on the back rank. Let's look at that. That seems to be a possibility. What's black do? He can't take the rook, right? He walks into checkmate. So what's black do? If he takes this, what happens? Whoops. Is this a second way to win? Does rook e8 win? Does rook e8 win outright? Maybe not. Maybe black has some resources, like queen takes f3 check. That might be embarrassing. Okay, what is... Ooh. Let's see. If anything, you got queen f2 check. g5 check is interesting. It's almost mate, but white has this resource. This is all kinds of possibilities here. I don't know what's happening. Did I miss it? So what? Did I miss a win for one side or the other? But my point is that if you stop and analyze the forcing moves, or every legal move, if you want to be 100% sure, you're going to find these moves. And another thing is say, I've got a time advantage. Okay, basically, if I take a minute a move, I can get to move 50 real easy. If I take 2 minutes a move, I can get to move 43 real easy. Adding the time. Having only 24 minutes is not much, but it's a time advantage. And if you use all your time now, you could use all your time on the wrong move and where there is no win, and then miss the win when you have little time, because you don't know the win's there until you actually find it. That's one of the problems. Okay, let's get back to the position. f6. Okay, queen h4. I'm just trying to find ways to help you conserve your time a little better. so that, you know, when you have a time advantage, you can use it. How much more time would have taken to seen this? Anyway, he didn't see it, unfortunately, and missed a very pretty win. Black has really nothing else to do but run his pawns, and the outcome is still kind of in doubt here. White's getting that king active. Now he's got the threat of the back rank mate coming. And look at this white king. I mean, it looks awful menacing, but amazingly, black has resources, and there's the resource. He's just going to keep him out of e8. But here, white slipped. What he needs to do is play rook e7. And get these rooks activated. And I think he's okay. Black's got to step carefully here. You know, you got to be careful here because, you know, boom, this has a new mate threat. So black needs to deal with the defense of f7. And if he tries bishop here, we'll just try to get rid of that critter. And then suddenly white has two rooks in the game, and these pawns can get neutralized real quick. Suddenly white's got some new threats. And, you know, I don't know. Maybe white's, you know, I got a threat of mate. Stick this over here. Does white have enough here? He just might. He just might at that. You know, wow. You know, what's happening here? Are the pawns winning? I don't know. White's probably winning this. Anyway, there's all kinds of possibilities here. But unfortunately, and black's running out of time, white just slipped up and got rid of his firepower, and the pawns got deadly. And here's white with all this extra time on his clock, and now black's getting a winning game. So fascinating chess. There's a lot to this, but those pawns are just deadly. Black's got a clear win, and white just made it easy on him when he was in time trouble. And white's taking some time because his time's kind of sitting there, but unfortunately, those pawns are just becoming too dangerous, and they're going to queen. So, way to hang in there, black. Better luck next time, white. You definitely had plenty of opportunity here. Hats off to you for being so bold to play the Evans Gambit. Now the game is, you know, we're just going through the final moves. It's clearly one for black. How much longer does this go? Oh, there it is. Checkmate. But anyway, that's our game of the week, and it's certainly one of the more entertaining games I've made a video for. I want to thank you for taking time to look at it, and wish you all a pleasant time, and I'll be back as soon as the winner is picked for round 8, the second round of the playoffs. I was getting over a head cold, and I'm still a little hoarse, but I got to get this video out because you guys need to see this. It's an exciting game. Plenty to learn here. Take care. Bye.